So tell me about how you started beach volleyball.
With beach volleyball, like when I was young.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started pretty late. I played basketball when I was young.
Okay, that's cool.
So I played basketball till I was, what was it, seventh grade. So I think 14, 15 years old. And then I wasn't good enough, basically.
Okay.
I wasn't good enough. It's not like that I couldn't play, but I was not in the best team in my city anymore. And I'm from Prague, from Czech Republic. So I was not in the best team anymore. I would move to a team who was playing, let's say, maybe the second half of the table, and I somehow didn't like it that much anymore because I felt like I'm really not on the level as the other guys because they were more physical, they were better in general. So I couldn't see myself being successful in the sport, and maybe like looking back, that's why I got a little bit dismotivated. And then I picked up because I played a little bit of volleyball in school. I had a great PE teacher back in elementary school who was really a lot into volleyball. And then I saw the London 2012 Olympics with, I really still remember the green jerseys of Yanis and Martins winning the bronze. And I think around that time, I kind of started going into a beach volleyball club in Prague. And from that point onward, basically, I started playing beach volleyball first for 2 years. Then I also went indoors because I got, let's say, recruited to also an indoor year for basically my full high school period. So then I was doing both. And when I went to university, I got pulled to a national team, which was starting at the moment, basically, because before 2016, there was not really a structured national team in Czech Republic. So in 2016, Andrea Tomatis, the current still coach of now only Schweiner, now with Trosel, but Perušić Schweiner before, he came to Czech Republic and started coaching the national team. So I joined that. And basically since that moment, for 4 or 5 years, I played, let's say I tried to play it professionally. So yeah, that was kind of my story into beach volleyball. So I didn't play from youth. I am not from a volleyball family. Now I'm playing with my brother, which is kind of funny because we are not at all from a volleyball family. But yeah, it's that was pretty much it.
You say that you started late, but I mean, 2012 is probably you were around 14. Yeah. So I don't count it as too late.
No,
I mean, if you still did sports.
I was 16. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 16.
Okay.
I also don't think it's too late, especially if you have a previous, like, let's say, athletic background. So I was doing a different sport. Like now we see athletes switching much later to beach volleyball. Like there is Stefan Burmans, right?
Yeah.
Who switched. He was like 19 or something. It's ridiculous. So I consider it late because I didn't play volleyball from a young age, but I don't think it's any issue like performance-wise into the adult life.
It's interesting that you remember those Olympics because for me it was also like, I wouldn't say a turning point, but it was one of those like matches that I remember, like I will remember forever, is like Kerry Walsh against China.
Yeah.
And I think I watched that game like 5 times. It's a core memory for me. So you're someone that sees both, you see the court and off the court, and you kind of made a business out of it with King of the Court and maybe something else that you will tell me about. But when did you know that like just playing is not the only direction that you want to take?
Honestly, from the start.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm being fully honest, I never really believed in myself as a professional player earning a good living or even saving something to be able to live off as a professional beach volleyball player. Like, I guess not at any point. So for me, playing professionally was always kind of a side thing to studying, to my university studies. So when I knew, like, always also in my mind, always when I thought to myself, hey, I'm still studying, I was like, okay, I can waste time on beach volleyball as well, and fully focus on that and on the side do the studies, because I knew that at some point when I finish with the studies, I'm like, okay, I need to go do something else. And I never really believed at any point that and I don't know if I didn't believe that I'm good enough or that I wasn't so motivated to be a beach volleyball player. Honestly, I'm not so sure. I think I didn't believe that I would be good enough. So that's why I always also focus on the studies. And then when I kind of finished, then I slowly turned into different areas of business within beach volleyball, which was maybe partly luck because I never really expected it was not like a motivation that I want to work in the beach volleyball business and that's the main thing that I want to do. But I always was motivated to do something around the sport. And just when I was kind of turning my career around, a couple of opportunities arose. One of them, Queen and King of the Court, at the exact right timing. So I took that opportunity, and I joined the already developed product at that point. So I joined Queen and King of the Court in 2021. So that was already 4 years still since the very start of the format, and already after the first, let's say, international breakthrough. So I'm not there from the beginning, but I try to bring my value, or like some kind of extra value to that. And since then I started on a smaller position. It was basically my first job, so I kind of got into that working life, slowly in some smaller position. I was living in the Netherlands back then, so that's why I joined the company. And now I'm working not full time for Queen and King of the Court, so I still have other things, but it's really one of my main focuses to help develop the product and to make this tour successful, because I like that.
So do you consider yourself like first an athlete or entrepreneur?
No.
Or like
I consider I don't know, entrepreneur, because I'm still basically an employee of Sportsworks, now owned by a company called Advance Capital. There was a recent change in ownership of Sportsworks, which is the organizer of Queen and King of the Court events. And I consider myself an employee. I consider myself very responsible for the product because I like to feel that way and I like to have influence on the product. But I'm still employed there. And then on my, let's say, remaining 30% of the working time, I have my own company together with my partner called Beach Data, where we work as statistical software for nowadays most of the national federations on the beach volleyball tour. So we analyze games for them, deliver insights, deliver data, and help them basically be successful.
That's really cool.
The data. So that's the second part of my working life. And then somewhere as kind of a hobby is playing beach volleyball nowadays. So I like to call it myself that I have. I see a lot of people, I wouldn't say with a midlife crisis, but a lot of people doing Ironmans and running marathons and training a lot on it on top of their working life. So I always try to structure it that way. Hey, that's my working life. That's the number one priority. And then I try to stay healthy. And my way of doing is playing beach volleyball. So that's how I feel at the moment.
It's really cool. I think it's very different approach. And you said from the start, you knew that you want to, not want to, but you didn't believe in yourself, and then you wanted to do something with it. Did you always have an idea what you want to do and a dream around it, or?
I think at one point I realized that I really like to do business-wise something around beach volleyball, because I always tell this story, when I was playing, I played my, let's say, first 4 years of my semi-professional career. I played with Jan Dumek, who is let's say, more experienced player from Czech Republic, extremely smart guy. We always talked during all the travels about all the things that could be better in beach volleyball, how things could be organized better, how the tournaments could be bigger and with more money, and everybody give us more money from the federation and everything. And it's not like that we were only complaining, we were trying to find solutions. But of course, when you're on the player side, there's only so much you can do. So I think at some point realized, hey, I want to try to do something myself as well. I think everybody realizes that it's a little bit more difficult to do it than to talk about it. Yeah. And that being said, I don't think it's bad to talk about it. I think it's really important. But at some point, and that's maybe also what when I talk to people, I also try to motivate them, find those small things, how you can also be included in your sport, not only in the athlete's role. And I think, in my opinion, if more people would transition into different business, administrative, organizational, whatever roles in the beach volleyball, let's say, environment, I think the sport would be so much better, and it would help so much. And it doesn't have to be big things like Alexander Valkenhorst starting his own tour, right? There's like he did something huge in Germany. Like there are people who are fans of the product and people who are don't, but in the end, like all respect to him, and he really helped the sport in some parts in his country. And I think if more people would take those decisions, doesn't have to be this big, but also smaller ones, like, start your own podcast, right? Like yourself. And truly, it's like those small things that if more people would do that and maybe use the skills what they have, because a lot of people are also studying next to playing, they have different skills and use it together with the experience from the sport. Yeah, I think that can really help. And I'm not saying that nobody is doing it, but I think if more people would do it, then in 10, 20 years, I think the sport would be in a better position.
Yeah, I agree. We talked about this with Sunniva on the podcast, and we talked a lot about the issues that appear in nowadays, like volleyball. And I asked her whether she would be willing to, let's say, go to federation and fix some of those problems. And she was like, probably not. And I agree. It's like, we see so many problems, but at the same time, it's a really brave decision to like go there and fix them. And I saw it from my own eyes because my father was federation president and he was national coach, and I saw how it looks from inside. And I don't really want to do that, but I kind of found my own way to do it. I don't know if it will help, but it will be something creative and hopefully, bring something new to the sport.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, I'm also not brave. I didn't go into any. I'm not pushing myself in any political federational position, not at all. And I'm actually like, maybe if I would be more brave and push myself into it, I could influence more on different levels. Like when talking about my own country, for example, there are things I think should be changed, but I also know it's much harder from the inside than from the outside. I can say now that there are things that should be changed, but it's more difficult from the outside. So I totally understand that. But I'm not brave enough to go into that position. So at the moment, I'm working for like two commercial subjects. So I'm working for Clinic of the Court and Beach Data, which are both commercial and are not political. We can do what we want. Of course, there are collaboration with federations, with international federations, 100%. That's always part of the business because it's sports. But in the end, you are a commercial entity. So it's much easier. And I'm not brave enough to go into those positions within federations. So I totally understand that also from Sunniva. And to me, that's maybe a bit of a structural problem because I see that a lot. Basically, everybody you talk about, hey, would you like to fix things? Would you take a position? Would you try to push yourself politically in the federation? No, that's not for me. Everybody is like this. So then, to me, I think that shows that the problem is probably not the people. The problem is structural, that there is something wrong in the sport federation, but I think that's quite well known, and it's a problem of structure rather than the people. So maybe at some point that will be improved. But it's not easy.
I mean, I think someone needs to take the sacrifice. It is a sacrifice, I feel like, because it takes like a few people and few brave people that will sacrifice some years on their life and do some changes. Yeah. What do you think skills you learned in beach volleyball that helped you to do what you do now?
Oh, well, I think there are some soft skills and some hard skills.
Share both.
For me, the hard skills, you basically learn how to run a business, honestly saying, like, whether it's athlete only, so there are athletes who really run their own business on their own name and they're kind of individual, right? It depends per country. Like in the US, you see that a lot. Okay, I'm a player. Every season I play with someone else, but I'm a brand on myself. I'm basically a company on myself. Then you see in some countries, it's more of a kind of a team company. You know, you have some teams playing together for 15, 20 years and they basically have the company together. You need to get the coach, you need to arrange the travels, you need to arrange the sponsors. Even when you get federation support in a lot of countries, it's still like this. So I think that's the hard, and that's also what I learned. Like, organize yourself, be able to budget your season, raise the money, spend the money, in a wise way, calculate where to go, what's the best strategy in the season, everything.
That's true.
Every beach volleyball player
That's
knows
true.
that, right? Like, if you can structure your season well and spend the money wisely, you will be much better off at the end of the season, and you will get to better tournaments and have better results than someone who spends the same amount of money but in a wrong way, going to wrong tournaments. So
Yeah.
it is just like this. And then I think 100% there are the soft skills, because you are working in an environment which I think it's very unique in the sporting world, because there are two players on the court, usually sticking for a couple of years, in kind of a mix between an individual and a team sport. So it's very dependent on the individual performance, but without the team effort, it's impossible to be successful and to manage this relationship and to survive for this amount of years that you are playing in together. Like, I have talked to so many players, as you did as well on this podcast, but also elsewhere. I don't know a player that would go for more than 1 year with the same partner and don't have issues on the personal level, and not only on the personal level, but like to deal with the other person. So I think that's something what you really learn, and sometimes we don't realize how well that transferred to the working life, to be able to solve problems, to be able to solve them in a way that you can still keep working together, right? So I think that one is really, really important.
Yeah, I think it's also, like, as you said, it's like in partnerships, and it brings it to relationships as well, because I feel like you are with a person like 24/7. You sleep together, you go everywhere together and practices together, and then in the court you face such a challenge. It's like it tests every moment of you, like in I don't know in English, but in good and in bad, It's like in sickness and in health. So
so the advice is go date a beach volleyball player. You will be just fine. But not during the career. Then you don't see them basically ever. So.
That's true. How is it for you? Like having you traveling a lot and your fiance as well. How do you manage that?
Yeah, of course it's not easy. I think we are in a very good, like we are very lucky. Because me, with my work, I have the freedom to, for example, travel with her and still keep my working life kind of in shape, so I can work remotely as I want. I have very, let's say, flexible conditions, so I'm very lucky in that sense. So I can try to travel as much as possible with her. Also, we can afford it most of the time, which is also important. It's not it's not easy to be able to travel with someone to different locations. So that helps a lot, and and then it's just about the rest of the times when we cannot be together at the tournaments, at the training camps. You just need to find a rhythm and let's say a setup that works for both of you, and that's really important. So whether it means for somebody is comfortable with texting once a day, are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. Okay, we keep going. Somebody needs to call for 3 hours a day. So we also have this type of a rhythm, and you kind of need to stick to it, even though I know it myself also from the other side. Before being the beach volleyball player, sometimes you think that your issues on the court and in the tournament are the most important thing in the world, but also at home there can be something important happening. So sometimes to differentiate between those two and to realize the different aspects of the different lives, it's not easy. But for us, it's possible, and we have been able to make it work. I think we will, let's call it, survive till the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's a skill that, as we said, like you learn on the court. So
yes.
You are both players, and you both want to win and succeed in tournaments. So how does your preparation differ from hers? Do you have just less time, or?
Much less time and focus on my game. So if I speak about my game nowadays, very openly, we practice with my brother, who is my partner, a couple times a week. We do our gym programs ourselves as we have time, and then before the tournaments we try to find always a little bit more time to be able to prepare. But honestly, at the moment it's definitely not good enough on the top level. And I really, from my own position, I really see the difference in the game also on the top level and on the levels below. So when you compare the kind of a Futures National Tour level compared to the World Tour top level, it's a different game. So also preparation wise, it's a totally different world. So when I see Maria preparing for the games and they have 1 hour meeting about everything what they need to do in the game, what the opponents will do, etc. I come to a game and I see the guys in the warm up for the first time, and you literally cannot find anything on them. Even when you're playing on the lowest level of Earth or on the Futures, there are teams that basically you cannot find any information beforehand. So you come on the warm up court and basically you're warming up for the 5 minutes you have on the court, and at the same time you need to look like it's more important to look on the other side and see, oh god, this guy can spike, but can he receive? So you try to see how they are peppering and everything. So it's fun and it's a different game. I love both sides of it, but so I would say that's the kind of main difference in the preparation. So sometimes it's funny when we compare it.
Yeah, I think it's something interesting because we all try to reach okay, I want to play at elite level the fastest, but at the same time you need all those phases, you need to learn to notice something immediately. Like even on elite, yes, we play against the best team like Müller-Tillmann, we have a plan. We watched 15 games of them because you see everything, like we have a plan, and then we come to play and we need to change something, because I don't know, maybe one of them is not feeling the best today. Maybe the serve is off or something. So I think all the skills that you develop on your way there, they make a difference.
Yeah.
Like even now, we are really stressed about playing qualification because you travel half of the world and you just play one game and you might just lose it and be done. But it's a skill to develop being brave and free in those hardest moments. So
it's so difficult.
Yeah,
it's incredible. To be able to travel half the world to a qualification to a place you have never been. Sometimes the place is also not the best travel location in the world, right? You sometimes travel to a really poor city in China. Sometimes you travel to a dangerous location in Mexico, and sometimes you need to go in the car and drive for 12 hours because you just got out of the reserve list. And then you need to come there. You have this one deciding game, which will decide also even financially for you whether you are going to lose 2,000-3,000 euros on the tournament or be break even or even earn some money. And in that moment, you need to play your best beach volleyball. It's ridiculous. It's really difficult, and you need to learn how to do that. And I think when you kind of analyze the new teams coming on the tour and being successful. Now, of course, we have the huge exception of, for example, the young Swedish guys at the moment, but they're also there for a long time already. It's not like that they started 2 years ago, right? But you don't see very often things like you see in other sports, that you have those wonder kids that appear out of nowhere and they play amazing. Like in soccer, it can happen because there is somebody coming from the youth, maybe in the clubs, from the youth categories, and they go into the top team. And they are able to use maybe two or three of their great skills. So they are quick, they have a good shot and handling the ball, for example, and they can use it. And the rest of the team of the experienced players will take care of the things like the setup of the game, the mental setup, the kind of tactical moves, etc. And this one person can bring their extra things to the game. In beach volleyball, it's not possible because if you are not on your top and you're not playing well, then your team will lose 100% because the opponents will push on you and you have no chance. So this part, I think it's really interesting in beach volleyball. And you very rarely see somebody who in the first season of playing a lot of games internationally is able to go to the high level because you really need to learn how to handle the situations first.
Yeah, I agree. I think Suniva's partner, Nina, she is at her first season of beach, and we talked with Suniva that she was probably one of the most successful people that just transferred from indoor, and I think that's really a cool perspective because I talked to her personally, and she has so much freshness to the sport and so many new ideas, because I feel like we are so long in this and it takes so long to get up there, you know, that we all have probably very similar mindsets. I was wondering whether you, as someone that organizes or helps with organizing like events like King of the Court, is there something you think players don't realize about organizers or the events? So I don't know, that's something they complain and you see from both sides. And
I'm laughing, but I don't, because there's a lot. And I don't mean it like I don't want to be rude towards the players, because it's not their fault, because nobody's talking to them about it, and it's sometimes very difficult to realize. I didn't realize myself before getting myself into the business. But at the moment in beach volleyball, to get the business and economic part figured and going in a way that the players get the conditions what they believe they deserve, and from the effort they are putting into it, and from the appeal of the sport what they are playing, they totally deserve it. And don't get me wrong, I'm on this with the players. They don't realize how far we are from it in most of the events around the world. And I believe that there are solutions, and we are implementing part of it with Queen and King of the Court, and we are really trying our best. There is a lot of people working really hard to make this possible. But sometimes the players don't realize the realities of the business model of the events, of the business models, because it's really difficult to make it work commercially wise. So, for example, us Queen and King of the Court, very often in a lot of locations, not everywhere, we are fully dependent to organize the event commercially. So create the revenue from the ticketing, from the sponsors, from the media deals, and then to organize the event for this amount of money and to pay out the players. And honestly saying, knowing the budgets, the players get a big portion of what the event is generating, and very often it's difficult to make it work. So that's, I think, the kind of biggest part. Of course, everybody realizes that there's hard work put into the event, that there's a lot of volunteers who need to show up, and that there is a lot of hours spent and materials brought, etc., etc. I think everybody realizes that, but sometimes I feel like they don't realize the reality that really all the events are operating at extremely thin margins or losing money around the world. Unless there are institutions coming in, cities, governments, ministries offering a lot of money to the sport, putting a lot of money to the sports, of course, then those events are more easy to organize. But sometimes I feel that's what the players don't realize so well, and it's not their fault, but it's just the reality.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, because as I said, like, my dad was one of those people that also organized events and also saw something from inside and outside. And a lot of people now talk about federation, for example, that they're doing nothing, that they're stealing the money, but they don't really realize how the money comes, or if it comes, and how things work. So I get what you're saying.
It's difficult, yeah. And I kind of said it in the beginning. I would encourage everybody to go into at least some people, like, consider going into the business of the event organization, organizing the events in different countries. Because if you talk about, like, we are talking about beach volleyball and the tour, right? What is the tour? Okay, so you have on the, let's say, FIVB side, on the World Tour side, so you have the Volleyball World / FIVB, so that's the umbrella organization, and then you have the individual events. Okay, the events are maybe broadcasted by somebody, they are sponsored by somebody, and some people are coming into the events. So you as a player, if you are either when you are still active or when you are retired, how can you, because I see, for example, a lot of players going into coaching positions, and to me that's great, and it's really helping to professionalize the sport. I think that in the last years it added a lot of value to a lot of national teams, etc. But I also don't see a lot of players going into any kind of event position, any kind of business positions around beach volleyball, because when those people have those skills, so maybe they studied economics or business management, whatever around it, marketing, they kind of usually exit the world of beach volleyball and they go into the corporate part of the of the working life. And I think that's a little bit of a loss for us as a sport. So if more people would stick, I think that they could make some difference. So and then I think we can have better events, and I think that's the core of what we do,
true.
right? So what do you do as a player? You practice, because at some point during the year you want to play at an amazing event with the full stadium, and you want to win some games or even lose them, but play for the people and have the people. That's why you train, right? You also train because you love the sport. All of us do, but in the end, you kind of want to have those moments. And if they're like, for example, now, hopefully it's going to change again in next years, but the tournament in Vienna is not there. And it's such a pity. Like, for me, myself, that was one of my maybe 5 best moments in my career, was playing the Nations Cup, which we very luckily got into in Vienna, and playing Austria on the center court in Vienna in an evening game. It was ridiculous. And at that point, you're motivated for the next 4 years. And those events do those things. And I really hope that we are also doing it with Queen and King of the Court. Like when you play in Utrecht, in the Skybox Stadium, in the evening session, and there is 2,000 people like partying and cheering for you and going crazy in the last seconds, and you make that final spike or you don't, and you are pissed, but that's what motivates the player. I hope for the next even 3 years, hey, somewhere in the next season I want to experience this moment.
Yeah.
And of course, like the top teams have it more often because they play those big tournaments, the Olympics, the World Championship, the European Championship, and they go into the top 8, top 4, of course. But I think if we are able to deliver this for more players around the world, so for the top 30, for the 40, 50, then that's, for me, that's growing the sport, because that then translates to all the parts below that as well. So you yourself, if you're able to play at you're let's say number 35 to 40 in the world at the moment.
I have no idea.
No idea. Okay,
I try not to look.
That would be my guess. Like, we can check afterwards. But then, if you have those moments, you're more motivated. You can attract more sponsors because you're playing in those big tournaments. You can motivate more kids in your country to play the sport. So that's my perspective, because I'm in the business and I think it's really important. But I really think that if we can make more of those amazing events around the world, then that's going to help the sport so much.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's also like a lack of fantasy, because I don't know if it's the right word, but imagination, I guess. Like for me, I always wanted to, let's say my dream was to become a legend, whether in volleyball or in whatever, but now it is volleyball because I fell in love with it. But to me, that meant that I need to help or add something to the sport. And I thought, like, there are some players, for example, Karambula, right? He's like not an Olympic champion. He's not a world champion, but he's a legend. Like a legend forever. And I think he added not only skyball, but the whole like style of the game, like freedom and everything. And I think it's so interesting how you can, if you have an imagination, like add to the sport in different directions. So as you said, like, yes, it is events. Yes, it is a podcast. Yes, it is so many variations, but you need to spend time or notice what's missing there. What do you think is the difference in finding money for an event and as a player, like finding sponsors, or is it the same, just marketing something bigger or smaller?
It's no, it's definitely different. It depends. So you have one part, and that's the sponsorships. I think on that part, it's actually very similar. It's of course at a different scale. You're selling a little bit different product, but it's actually quite similar. The problem usually is that for the events you need the higher amount. No, and it's true. So you're going to companies, and for the amounts that normally as a player you would be basically covered for the season, for the events you kind of cannot afford anything. So that's also maybe a little bit of the problem in the current events business, that sometimes for some companies it's much easier to sponsor a player who is, let's say, one of the top in the world. So you will be anyway seen at a lot of the events because they are wearing your brand, right? But it's much cheaper than to sponsor the full event and sponsor a great event because those events are very expensive, unfortunately. So that would be the only, so the scale, but otherwise I think it's very, very similar. Of course, with the event business, you have other things like, for example, the ticketing. So you need to market to the people your product such that they want to come and they want to have the experience. So for me, that's a little bit kind of a cross between the sport and entertainment business because it's similar like musicals and the concerts. You need to show to the people and explain to the people that they will have a great time by coming to the event. So that's basically it. Of course, there is also the fan perspective that they come there to support the team, to support the home team or support some other team, but it's not so big in beach volleyball. It's not soccer. So it's a little bit more about, okay, explain to them that they're going to have a great time and let them spend money on the ticketing, and you need that to be able to run the event. So I think that's the kind of part which is not really the same with running your business as a player. So there you're mostly focused on sponsorships and getting the institutional support. So dealing with your federation, dealing with your government, whatever it is, to get the institutional support, get some sponsors, and then you have your income. On the event side, there is this big part of ticketing, and of course media rights are there as well, but it's a little bit different story. But on the ticketing, that's, let's say, a different discipline of marketing. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think makes tournaments successful and the opposite, like it can go down, you know?
I think it's important to understand like what we mean by successful. I always try to, let's say,
okay.
When we are talking like in Sportworks and Queen and King of the Court, like when is the event successful? Like,
when is it to you?
Is it, for me, there are two aspects. So for me, when it's let's say relevant and people want to watch it. So, and that's honestly saying sometimes what's, for example, very difficult with Queen and King of the Court, because you are running events which are not the Olympics, which are not the Olympic qualifier, they're not the World Championship, so somebody will be the World Championship for the next 2 years. It's a Queen and King of the Court event. So how do you create this relevance? So we have different tools how to do that. And for me, for an event, for example, nowadays on the Beach Pro Tour, that's how I would define like, let's say, success. When people from another country are watching the final when their team is not even playing. So that's to me an event. That's why I would always, for example, myself, I will always watch a lot of games in Gstaad, but not so many games in, even now, next week in Sakvarema. I will be watching both events and I will be following, but still more games I will be watching in Gstaad. So that's a kind of nice way. And I think you understand the perspective, right? So,
I do.
And maybe the same with Ostrava nowadays, you know, it's like a big event. Like it's a very prestigious to win that one, even though on the level wise, it's exactly the same as Sakvarema. And maybe it's just from my perspective, and somebody in the US is telling me, hey, I don't care about Ostrava. For me, Sakvarema is important because, I don't know, for some reason, can be. But I think that's like how prestigious is your event. I think that's a good kind of measurement. And the second one is basically, how many people came and did they have a good time? That's the most important. I think if we, in beach volleyball, if we have a lot of events when a lot of people are coming and having a good time, then that's perfect, right? That's the tournaments that are successful, long term. That's the tournaments that players like to come to play, that fans care about. So that's also, to me, like the main part.
Yeah. What about when the tournament can go down? What are the main fears? For example, revenue?
Yeah, of course, like business-wise, it's difficult. A lot of tournaments, as I said before, are operating at a thin margin. That means if one of your funding areas is dropping, for example, so let's say that you're running an event for a couple of years, which is funded by the city, the ticketing, the sponsors, the media revenue. And all of a sudden, for some reason, the city decides to stop supporting the event, or they cannot support the event. Doesn't have to be a decision. Maybe they're out of money. They cannot do it. So, your event can always go down, and it will not be possible to organize it anymore. So that's what you see now. Baden is not there anymore this year. I think there were some posts, anybody can find it, about the organizer explaining why it went down. We see it in some cities that we are also with clearing of the court. We are sometimes just not able to continue because the revenue is not there. And then, of course, you try your best to compensate it with other things, or maybe one sponsor is dropping, you try to compensate it with others, but sometimes it's just not possible. So that's to me what happens, and that's basically the only reason why there are not more tournaments, right? So if the tournaments would be easily profitable, then there will be a lot of them around the world, and every promoter will be happy. So
What do you think organizers care more about, players or fans? I mean, in King of the Court, I feel like it's both. But
I don't think you can. I don't think it's that simple. It's not that simple. It's kind of both. It also depends if you mean the fans in the stadium, so the people watching
both.
the game. Because sometimes I think the most important thing is the fans in the stadium, so them having a good time. The players, so they are somewhat happy, but sometimes you forget about the fans around the world who want to follow the sport. So just an example, like sometimes with the in the last year, the format of the elite tournaments, right? When there were 24 teams and there was this kind of, I don't know how to call it, like a lucky loser going into the quarterfinals. You know what I mean? I think everybody does. To me, that's a thing that doesn't really affect that much your experience as a fan in the stadium. You come to the game, you watch the game. Okay, it's better if it has some clear consequences, but it's still entertaining for you. It's still entertaining for somebody who, usually also the fans who come in the city, like when you look in Vienna, for example, in Ostrava, when you look at the tournaments, the people who come, they kind of know beach volleyball, but they're not the loyal fans who follow every tournament and know the system. So for you, anyway, it's a game that's happening on the court, so you want it to be a nice game. So I think that experience was not so influenced. The experience for us as the loyal fans who see the tournament as a whole and try to see the nice competition, and then you have the round of, 12, and then two teams are still going into the round of 8, and you're like, come on. I myself, like, I never watched the round of 12 because I was like always thinking, hey, is this team kind of, do they already know that they're secured, so they're kind of playing half? Usually not, but you are always wondering, okay, maybe they're still in. And I was like, that's not the drama I want to watch, you know, because like you can watch nice beach volleyball, but when you're the loyal fan, you want to see the stories a little bit in the tournament. You want to see that this favorite is kicked out and not that he can enter again, you know. So I think that's part. I think that's a nice example when it didn't affect the fan experience. I think it didn't affect that much the players, because it's not the most amazing system to play, but on the other hand, like, you're still playing, you still have your chances, and maybe once a year it will help you, you know, so like, okay. But for me, for the fans globally, following the sport, that's what hurt the experience a little bit. So that's what I would take as an example, that's sometimes, to me, the group which is a little bit left out. You know?
Yeah, I agree. And your example, I think, was perfect, because lucky losers is, we experienced it for us as well.
Also, if I can bring one topic into this podcast, that every kind of this mid-round is called lucky losers, but very often it's the unlucky losers. Like nowadays in the 24 format on the Elite 16, the round is called lucky losers, but they're the third place teams who are the worst.
Yes.
So they're the unlucky losers.
That's true.
Like, I hate that nobody is bringing this up. I hate that it's still called the lucky losers when it's the unlucky losers playing. Yeah. Because also for you as a player, it's fun. It doesn't really influence anything. But for you as a player, when you get into that round and you're posting on the socials and whatever and reporting back to your sponsors, and they're talking about you on the national TV back in your country, in the evening news, I don't know what, and they're saying, okay, Eva, she got third, and she will play the lucky loser round. So immediately what the fans are thinking, hey, you are a loser, but you got lucky. Yeah. When in reality, you finish third, so you are not a loser, and you actually got unlucky because you need to play the pre-round because your point ratio was not good enough. So that's just...
but I agree. This system is crazy, because what you said, like sometimes you don't even watch the game because you know that the team might play half, right? So we also had this situation in Joe Pessoa, right? So we played the first game, we lost against Stam, we won the second game against Müller, and then we had to play Brazilian team. And I was not sure how it works, like with going out of the group and whatever. And I read all the system. Like I was like, I need to find out, like for sure, not to mistake. And basically, like I needed to count the points. And I needed to lose not more than 11 points, right? So we were playing the first set. I was fighting for every point. We lost, let's say 21-19, right? So I wasn't angry, but then I was like, okay, so the second set, I need to watch like how many points I need to collect. And we were collecting, we collected enough points for us, let's say, to lose and go out of the group and maybe even a second. And Erika was like, yeah, but let's win, let's push it. And I'm like, I'm not sure I want to. Like, I wasn't telling her that because I didn't want to stress her out. Yeah. But at the same time, I was like, I kind of think we need to lose, you know? Yeah. And she was fighting till the end, and I was like, not trying to lose, but I wasn't pushing myself to like, get it. And we lost, by enough points, and we entered like second from the group. And I think that was perfect, us losing there, but it was kind of like on purpose, you know, it wasn't, but at the same time.
Yeah. And I think the round of robin is something that just this full pool phase when everybody's playing each other. I don't think it's working that well in beach volleyball. My recommendation would be, I think the modified pool plays are a great system actually for beach volleyball. So this one is not so great. Actually, from the fans' perspective, I think it could be very interesting because then you have really different types of game, like your one, when everybody knows that you are maybe the underdog in the game, and you need to score at least this amount of points. That's really interesting. However, I think it's really difficult to explain to everybody, so everybody's aware. And that's like talking, for example, about the commentators on VBTV. If they would have this information for every single game, 100% right every single time, then maybe they could make stories around it. But that's also very difficult because they're jumping from one game to another, and they have to have the overview and count point ratios and count back how many points that actually means and what is happening in the other game. It's almost impossible. Like, we are not when the last round of the, I don't know if you're a big soccer fan, but when the last round of the Champions League first phase, the league phase is playing, then of course the information is full and every commentator on every TV station knows what every goal means, and then it's very, very interesting. Exactly, okay, they cannot lose 3-0, they can lose 3-1, and then they're on to the next phase. That's amazing story and a big battle for that one goal. So it can be great, but in beach volleyball it's almost impossible with the amount of games and groups to be able to explain it properly. So yeah, let's drop that.
Yeah. Okay, last few questions. So you meet a lot of top players and you talk to them, you watch them play. Is there someone that left like impression on you, or maybe someone you look up to, or inspiration?
I will put one side story now, because how you started the question. Because I think I don't think many top players will be watching, but I think in general a couple of beach volleyball players may be watching this. And we organized in January, the Queen Key of the Court event in Stockholm in the Avicii Arena. There were like 4,500 people watching. It was amazing. I think it was like it was definitely the biggest indoor event, like true indoor event that beach volleyball has seen, based on my research. And it was a lot of fun. The Swedish teams, under questions were there. So really a good event. We organized it together with a local organizer who is promoting for many, many years the Diamond League in Stockholm in track and field. We had a lot of conversations before the event, and they were always very cautious about what they can do with the athletes and what interviews they can ask them for, and what maybe meet and greets, etc. And sometimes there was even like a miscommunication between us and the organization, because what we are used to is that the beach volleyball players are extremely reachable and very likable and easy to talk to, and they will always be up to do anything with the fans and interviews, etc. Whether in other sports, and sometimes I think we don't realize it in our sport, it's not so common. Like, you go to track and field, and to me, those athletes, of course, you have some superstars, but then on the other hand, you have guys that I never heard of, even if I kind of follow track and field, and they're acting like superstars. Maybe they are superstars, and it's very difficult to book them for interviews, to get them to meet and greets, to have them to sign a couple of balls for the kids, etc. And after the event, the local organizers, the company, they were so surprised how it went. Like, it's impossible. Like, we try to book a meeting through a manager of the manager 3 times, and then they cancel through the other manager when they're trying to book the track and field. And here in beach volleyball, you walk by the guy and can you come in 5 minutes, do a 15-minute interview? Yeah, I'll be there. It's so insane and I think it's it's a lot of added value of our sport, what we can offer, in general. So please keep doing that. When you're at tournaments, like, be reachable, talk to the fans, talk to the media and everything, because it's really making a difference and it's really making all the events better. So I think that's a great part. So I just wanted to mention that. But back to
that's
your
wonderful.
It's a difficult question. I don't know if I have like a true role model. I think I have this thing as a player that I always, when I try to do some part of the game, like whether it's serving or setting or attacking, I don't know if you have it as well. That would be interesting if it's with more players. I always try to I try to receive like Laura Ludwig, and in my head that's like a
I'm the
note.
same way.
Okay, I don't even know what it means that I need to do, or sometimes from the right side, from the middle, I need to attack like Martin Splavinc. I kind of don't even know what it means, but I know it's let's say more or less working for me. So I stick on serving. Okay, I have this one on serving. I try to serve like Vitor Felipe, the world champs in 2022. Because I really have it in my mind that, this is kind of the movement and the approach, and when I want to jump serve, I need to go like this. And that's kind of how I have my small role models in the different parts on the court. So this is.
Is it only like technical, or it's also the energy you bring into the action?
I don't fully know. I don't fully know. I think it's kind of a combination, probably more technical, but it's kind of a combination. Yeah.
I think for me it's combination, but at the same time it's more energetic.
Yeah.
And I have this as well. And for example, for me, one of them is now Rebecca's serve. There's a specific serve she serves, and I'm like, okay, this is like bringing Rebecca's energy. And just last season, we played a match against Rebecca, and I was like, Rebecca serve against Rebecca. So for me, it was very funny because I was like, get into Rebecca's energy, get into it, and I'm playing against her. So it was really fun. But I told this to some amateurs because sometimes I coach at my free time, and they were like, wow, it's so impressive, because then you get into this like, I'm like, I don't know, block like Mol, and I'm like, block, and I feel like, yeah, that's him inside me. Yeah. What would you say to someone that is just starting volleyball? What would you wish for someone, or what would you recommend to someone who's watching? And
I think find a nice location and group of people to play. I have seen many amateurs. I think Tenerife, and where we are at the moment, just above the Playa Las Vistas, right? It's a place where I have seen a lot of amateurs and people who maybe even never played beach volleyball kind of fell in love with the sport because they were in a nice location with nice people around playing beach volleyball. And I think it's the best way to get into the sport from my point of view. Like, if you want to start playing beach volleyball, like, learn how to the very, very basics and then go somewhere nice where a lot of people are playing beach volleyball and just kind of enjoy the sport. I think I have never been to so many, but I think beach volleyball camps in nice locations, like going, if you are in Germany and going to Portugal to a beach volleyball camp for 10 days or something like that. Yeah, those are amazing experiences, I think. So this is, and I'm not associated to any of those organizers, so I'm not really promoting anything. If I would promote my own thing, I would say, yeah, go to as many Queen and King of the Court events as you can, and then you will fall in love with the sport. It's true.
I mean, in Utrecht, for sure, I could recommend.
Yes, but I think those camps are really something special. And I think then after 10 days, you know if the sport is something for you or not. And most likely it is. So, that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I agree, because also for me, like, this is where I fell in love with the sport. You know, I had a long journey, and only here where I met so many wonderful people that were doing it on an amateur level and shared like why they love it. They just finish work and they just come to the beach and play, and yeah, that's where I fell in love with the sport. So for me, yeah, I think that advice works for sure. Well, thanks that you found the time
Thank
and
you
shared
for
your
this.
message.
No,